Welcome to the Root of It All podcast with Tree, your human behavior expert. Did you ever wonder why you have the behaviors that you have or how to change them? Did you ever wonder about different people in different industries and what made them good at what they do? Well, this is the podcast for you. You're learning all about human behavior from the experts. So cozy up, go for a walk, or go for that drive that you've always wanted to, and get ready to learn. Learn about you, learn about others, because us as humans, we are the funniest creatures on this planet. So let's learn together. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to another episode of the Root of It All podcast with Tree. And today I have Tim Miron from Pursuit CPA. And Tim is an interesting human who I thought would be really great to have on the show. The industry that he is in, which you'll can imagine with the CPA at the end of his business name, but his personality isn't the commonality within his field, and I found it so fascinating. So, welcome, Tim. I can't wait to share you with the rest of the world.
Thanks, Tree. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm honored that you referred to me as a human because that's not usually how people describe accountants.
How would they describe accountants? Tell me.
Their perception is more robotic than human is often there. They can be quiet and maybe a little bit stuffy and a little bit reserved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we want to talk about is, so even if you're just listening to this and you're not watching it, so Tim has like a kind of like burnt orange and brown hoodie on, and then he's always wearing like, would you say like Comic-Con t-shirts or like graphic t-shirts, or what would you call them?
Yeah, graphic t-shirts, a lot of range of superheroes in my closet for sure.
Yeah, and the main theme that when I think about Tim Myron, I always think fun. Like that's like the main thing. And so to your point, like when people think about accounting or a CPA, or their first instinct isn't fun.
Right. And our premise here and my belief is that, some of the things we talk about through finances and taxes aren't always the most fun thing. So wherever we can inject fun into the office or into our day outside of the serious things we have to discuss, we need to do that.
Agreed. 100% agree on that. And so also too, when people are talking about their own finances, whether it's for businesses, I know that you mostly work with businesses, um, or personal, there's always kind of fear and sometimes even shame around it. Do you find that?
I think so, yeah. And I think, yeah, there's definitely a fear of what if I do this wrong? There's fears of brown envelopes with the words Canada Revenue Agency on the top of them that like create unrealistic fears, I think, or nonsensical avoidance often, right? We'll have people who like get a letter and they're like, I don't know what that is. It could be a refund check, but because it has the potential of being nasty, they will just avoid opening it for weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could definitely fall into that category myself.
Yeah.
And so why do you think that is? Like I just working with thousands and thousands of people when it comes to finances, it's also one of the main things that couples argue about and could potentially sometimes make or break a marriage if people aren't on the same page. So what do you find like commonalities that people in business would be when it comes to not wanting to open that or avoiding? Like, do you find people even avoid you, even though you're actually helping them?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have clients who, yeah, will ignore phone calls or emails on the chance that it's, going to be bad news. Um, and yeah, so that's actually probably the hardest part of our job is for people who are reluctant to deal with their finances is to get the information we need to do our job to ideally help them save money. And so there's a lot of psychology and systems we have around how do we get a hold of somebody to make sure that they give us the tools or the information we need to be able to get our job done. And I think, yeah, some of it can come down to fear of maybe a nasty tax surprise. Although the sooner you get your stuff done, the sooner we figure that out and the less of a surprise it can be because it gives us more time to actually deal with things. And I think there can also be the fear of somebody's actually going to, quantify the results of your business over the last 12 months. And maybe if things didn't go as well as we hoped, that having to face that, even though we try not to be judgmental on that, we want to help all of our business clients become more successful. But I think just having to face that can be something that people don't want to have to do if they know that the answer is like, if I didn't hit my goals or if I didn't make a profit for 2024, I don't want to have to face that. And if I don't pick up the phone and actually, when Tim calls, then I don't have to talk about the fact that I didn't do what I wanted to do for the last year, kind of thing. Kind of like if you overindulged at a holiday party, maybe you don't get on the scale the next morning.
That's a good analogy. And the great thing about you, though, is the way that your personality is, it kind of fills that gap in between. For example, like if people are in fear because you are fun and you're
Mhm.
open and you're up for anything, that when people think about doing their accounting, and also too, I might add that people that are business owners, they are generally what is called a freedom-minded person. So somebody
Yeah.
that is more security minded, they are less inclined to actually risk opening their own business, putting their own money
Mhm.
on the line and things like that. So people that are freedom minded, if they get that CRA or no, the government envelope in the brown envelope you were calling it,
Yeah.
then they look at that and that they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take away my freedom. Or I have to do
Mhm.
this or I have to do that, which takes away their freedom. And that's going to cause them to avoid things. But when they associate that and they have somebody like you that they're working with, then they're like, oh, you know what? I'll call Tim. I'll see if he wants to do a round of golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, or go for dinner or something like that, that puts them more at ease in the first place. So you make yourself more available when it comes to you're not like sitting around in a suit, with glasses on, judging people or telling them about how the government's judging them and their money, basically.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. That's part of our uh, part of our brand, if you will, or our philosophy is to make things as comfortable as possible. Also, it's not fun to wear a suit, so if you can find a business reason to make an excuse to be able to wear blue jeans and Converse to work every day, why wouldn't you? Um,
So here's a random question. How many pairs of Converse do you have?
I've just recently added to my collection, so now I have one for every work day of the week. I've got 5 pairs of colorful shoes.
And what colors are these Converse?
Uh, what do we have? We have yellow and orange and red and green and pink. I was
Oh,
forgetting one.
okay. So you're missing blue, then you'd have every color of the rainbow. Blue and purple.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you still have room to grow there.
yeah. My wife would argue that there's probably not room in the closet for too many more. We might have to start storing them at work.
Yeah, well, fair. Fair.
Mhm.
So what is something that what's some advice that you can give somebody if they're a business owner? And what like advice meaning maybe a way that you see that business owners sabotage themselves? And it's a common theme across a lot of businesses that you've seen. What could you advise for people to be more open about what it is that they need to do when it comes to finances in their business?
Just like any other good habit, avoiding the hard things is probably the most wrong thing. So when people are maybe things aren't going well and not taking a look at why do I not have any money in my bank account or why can't I pay my business credit card every month, um, those types of things, if you don't figure out why, are not going to get better. Um, Kind of like if you don't change your habits, um, from a nutrition point of view, you're probably not going to lose any weight. Um, so that I think is a really big one. The other thing I think people need to realize is that everybody knows business is hard, and if yours is in a difficult patch, that it's probably not your fault, right? Like tying business success with your personal identity can be kind of dangerous because then if business doesn't go well, then that somehow makes you feel like a failure. Whereas if your business fails, that does not make you a failure. That makes that business a failure, and you've got a long life to be able to find another career or another business that maybe won't be a failure.
Mm-hmm. And I love what you're saying because it is true that sometimes it could be society, right? You look at,
Yeah,
or a business decision. Like I always go back to like Blockbuster, right? They
yeah,
decided to not change, and that was a decision that they made. Um, so it's, I think in business that it's the ability to pivot when you need to pivot
yeah,
and be able to shift and change when you need to shift and change.
absolutely. And I think the more comfortable you can be in being uncomfortable and being willing to make changes fast, the more you'll be able to adapt.
Mm.
Um,
That
yeah.
is so true. I say that all the time. The way that I say, I love the way that you said it. The way that I say it is finding the comfort within the discomfort can
Hmm.
help you pivot fast and help you change. And that's the truth for all of us as human beings, not just in business, but in life in general. Like so you think about everything that's happened, like COVID or even the economy, how it is now, or even you look at all throughout history when it comes to either the environment or politics or people or angry people that get other people to do their bidding,
Yeah,
which is unuseful. But it's interesting when us as the how resilient we are as humans. So I
yeah,
think what you're saying is just people remind themselves about how resilient they are, whether they're wherever, whatever direction their business goes in. Even what goes up must come down. So in order for businesses to actually keep growing constantly, there's going to be some form of plateau or set like it forces people to pivot.
for sure.
So without disclosing or without sharing your deep, dark secrets, tell us like what would you say is your most triumphant, what's the word I'm looking for? Your best moment in terms of working with a business, like the in terms of either growth or even the most fun.
There's all kinds of stages, and it's fun to be along for uh, the ride, right? We've got a number of clients who have, we call it, graduated from us because they got to the point where to continue to grow, they needed to bring on some additional investment, maybe through like venture capitalists, um, to be able to kind of get to the next level of where their goals are. And then that, of course, meant that the type of tax and support that they needed was got a little bit more complicated. And or maybe the venture capitalists say, well, if we're going to own part of your business, we're using our accountants, not yours.
Hmm.
um, some big companies, have a thing for specific letterheads to go on their financial statements, right? If it's not a national firm, then maybe we don't think that that's true, even though all CPAs have the same standards. So we've had a few of those, um, which are really fun. Like I can think of one instance right now of a client I've worked with for over a decade. And when we started working with them, we were frequently having conversations of like, how do we make cash flow work so that I can make payroll next Tuesday? Um, and then just before COVID, uh, they were able to pivot in their business you know, almost 50% change of what they actually did for business from what they were doing when we first met them. And then they were able to exit their business for tens of millions of dollars. So in the course of a decade, we went from I'm not sure how to make payroll to I have more money than my grandchildren will ever be able to spend. And that's kind of cool, and be able to be along for the ride and make sure that everything that needed to happen for that exit to happen successfully from a tax and a structure point of view was set up was pretty good. I have a few different vivid memories of their journey along the way, from in their old first dingy office before they moved to a nice newer facility, of drawing the plan on the whiteboard to uh, being on my way to vacation and taking a phone call through in the airport to make sure that the tax plan got executed properly before I buggered off for a week. Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like watching, like, I know that you have three kids, but it's almost like watching other kids grow up.
yeah, and we've had a bunch of those, and those the people with the growth mindset to aim for those are probably the most fun ones to work with. Yeah, and so anytime somebody gets to another one of those successes, even if it wasn't accounting or tax related, we feel like it's a win because our goal is for all of our clients to have the largest tax bill that they've ever seen while having it still be as low as legally possible. Because we don't want to avoid tax, we want to pay tax, just not more than we have to, and it's a measure of financial success. It's having to pay income tax.
That's a good way of looking at it, actually. Yeah. So what would you say is the most fun thing that you ever did with a client? Because I know like you golf or I know that you like wine too, right?
Yeah.
You have to question.
Um, Actually, maybe the most fun one, and almost everybody on this trip was a client, was through a network of people. I went to the Masters, which is like the holy grail hollowed ground golf mecca. And so I went on a long weekend, a 4 day trip to be able to go to the Masters and watch one of the practice rounds. So that was a lot of fun, and to be able to do that with people I only knew through business is even kind of more cool, I think.
Yeah, because when it comes to human behavior, things like that, those are things that we remember.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to business. And that means that the people that you went with, they're going to remember you. Anytime that they remember that trip, they're going to remember you. And then also they
Mm-hmm.
might refer you. And
Yeah.
mhm.
And yeah, we get to be integrated and get to know people really well. Sometimes we end up knowing things about our clients in terms of financial situation that maybe their spouse doesn't even know. Um, and so that's cool. I was fortunate enough just this past year, my family and I took a cruise over the Christmas holidays. And one of my clients winters in one of the stops. And so we got a private tour of Mazatlan in Mexico from one of our clients who lives there for 4 months of the year.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah. And I find it fascinating that when, like from a human behavior perspective, in our nervous system, we
Mhm.
revert back to the most emotional states that we've been in. So for example, say somebody when they were like 18 years old and all of a sudden they got like a massive um amount like a letter from the government saying that, oh, you owe us like $10,000. And this person maybe like they're 18 or 20 years old. From then
Mhm.
on in, they are going to be terrified from that envelope
Right.
because they had such an emotional shock when at such a young age or and so for the rest of their life, unless they choose to change their mood or attitude about that or to have new experiences from it, then nothing will change and they'll always have that fear. So,
Yeah, I agree with that completely. We have clients who have hit success that's greater than what many people would ever hope for from a financial point of view, who grew up with a scarcity mindset when it came to money, who even though they have millions of dollars in the bank and again will never be able to spend all of their money, are still, going to 4 different grocery stores to get things that are only on sale to save, $10 on their grocery bill for the week. Um, and so it's the scarcity mindset does not necessarily go away with the amount of money you do or do not have. And then we also, on the flip side, we have clients who are barely making ends meet and refuse to drive anything but a luxury car, even though if they could change their monthly car payment down 500 or 600 bucks a month, it'd probably make a huge difference to the rest of their life.
yeah, it's all about mindset or even
Mhm.
the conditioning growing up. Like people that, like I have a friend of mine that her parents, they always had like a Mercedes or a BMW or something. And so in her mind, like she can't drive anything else,
Right.
even though it was the same thing. It's like I don't think that she could really afford it, but she just doesn't, that's just what is conditioned in
Yeah.
her. Yeah. And it's interesting, like even framed around money, depending on how parents were, like people that were brought up with no money, they might be have a common tendency to hold on to it, or people that grew up with money, but like it's funny, like my ex was Italian and his parents were very like they were actually quite well off, but they would not like they still only operated how it is that they came when they first came to Canada.
Hmm.
Like so it's yeah, it's interesting. Everybody I think has their own pattern or rhythm when it comes to that. What would be a good pattern or rhythm? Like is there a formula? Like if you have X amount of money or you have X amount going on that you can be comfortable or is it, I don't know, is there a formula? I don't know.
I think because the range with what people could spend, on day to day living is so vast, that I don't know that there's an easy formula. There's probably lots of formulas of, how much should you be spending on housing in relation to your income, although that's hard to control given what home prices or rents are around where we live. Yeah, so I think that's a hard one to answer. I don't know that there's a right answer there because as you were describing that, I was thinking of like I have a wide range of clients who, again, we have ones who, when we hand them their tax bill, even though they rolled up in their Mercedes and their $5,000 suit, don't have any money saved to pay the tax bill that they owed that is not any different than the year before. And yet we have surgeon clients who have convinced their spouse that they're poor and they can't afford to move, even though they have millions of dollars saved in their corporation for retirement. And we have people who are making $1 million a year who are not rolling in here in even in the blue jeans that we wear. They're rolling in like Walmart track pants, and if you looked at them, you would think that person looks like they have a really rough living because but appearance isn't important to them. And yeah, so
It
yeah,
is a
if
mix.
you if you lined up 10 of our clients across the variation and you had to guess how much they made and what they were worth based on their appearance, you'd probably get half of them wrong, would be my guess.
Hmm.
We would never do that game, but
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a hard human call, right? Like,
mhm.
and it is interesting, and that's why I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to speak to both, like for both of us, that we both genuinely really enjoy people.
Yeah,
Right? No matter what, like, and when it comes to money, I think some people, they want to buy things, like they're things people.
yeah,
Like my husband and I, we are not things people at all. Like
yeah,
I hate shopping. I like just, I actually, I enjoy grocery shopping because I enjoy cooking, right? But I'm cooking for people. So there's
right,
like, right? And we wouldn't like I remember I was going to buy a chair for my office and it was only like $250 but it was good for my actual physical body because I was having
right.
issues. And 2 months went by and I was just like, oh, it's just in the basket, just sitting there. Um, and like, I'm like, well, I don't know. And blah, blah. And my husband and I went out to dinner and we don't think twice about spending that kind of money on dinner, right? Because it's actually like an experience. And
Hmm.
we spend more of our money on experiences as opposed to things where this chair, like I absolutely needed it because I was getting like lower back pain and just certain posture stuff. Like, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's funny how
and I
we
think
make
yeah,
this.
I think in that yeah, and my family, we are very much experienced people as well.
Oh, for sure.
Um, yeah, we are. My wife and I are probably on a decade of what do we get each other for our birthdays and anniversary? It's like, oh, we're going to go on another trip, even though it might not be at that time. Like, hey,
Yeah,
this trip we're taking in December is your birthday present, even though your birthday's in June.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
I totally get that. Yeah,
but do we need to reframe our thinking of like, was that $200 for a chair, or was that $200 to improve your health and your posture? And like,
yeah,
what the experience of buying the chair is not there. The experience of getting rid of a whole bunch of health problems because I properly invested in the chair is probably the framing you need to make on that one.
oh, absolutely. And just for the record, I did get the chair. Yeah, after some good laughs though, when my husband and I we were out and he's like, "Babe, just get the chair." Like just
Yeah,
you know like It is interesting, like just in terms of how people view things. For me, I work with thousands of people in a year, and just the diversity of how it is that they view the world. Same thing. If I
Yeah,
invited 10 people in and lined them up and asked them, how do you load your dishwasher? I'd get 10 different answers. That's
yeah,
even, yeah, that's even an exercise that I do with corporate clients. Like when there's
yeah,
you might get them to write out the word sandwich, grocery shopping, and relationships, and they have to write 3 rules for each one that they have. And like I have yet to have two exactly the same. Even if there's a group of 40, there's never
right.
two the same because we're so diverse and so different. And I guess that just makes sense when it comes to the finances and how people believe how it is that they should spend it or not spend it or where they should allocate it. It's
Hmm.
all across the board. And do you find with different industries that you work with, like different businesses that are in specific industries, that they have kind of the same viewpoints, or it's still different?
Yeah, though some industries can still have differings. There are probably certain spots um, where certain industries might have some more commonality to their traits, but even then, not everybody's the same. Um, a lot of realtors we work with are not the best at paperwork when it comes to their accounting and finances, and are living really close to the top end of what their lifestyle can afford. And yet we have a couple who are incredibly organized, incredibly diligent, and conservative when it comes to their spending. Um, Things that I see the most, and one of the conversations we have with clients a lot, I think, again, because it's been ingrained into us over decades of listening to our parents, is when it comes to debt. Um, a lot of our clients, when we start working with them, have the goal of, I want to pay off my mortgage. I was like, when mortgage rates were really, really low, when you were paying 2% there and your investment advisor was earning 8 or 9 or 10%, working hard to pay off your mortgage and saving less probably wasn't the right
Yeah.
plan. Now, you can't guarantee the 10% part, but and so often when we're having that conversation, I'm like, there's the spreadsheet answer of, do we want to pay down our mortgage? Yes or no? And that's pretty straightforward. I'm like, but I also get that there's an emotional cost of having that debt. And so we need to balance those two things off. And some clients are very, very debt averse, and
Mhm.
that's not a bad thing. And then we have some clients who are the exact opposite, who are willing to highly leverage their assets to be able to grow their wealth even more. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's almost like a balancing act, right? And I totally get the people that want to pay off their mortgage because it's kind of like this is mine,
yeah,
like it's mine, kind of thing. Specifically, even people that came from countries that they weren't allowed to either own land or houses or anything like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like it's something that you can hug. There's one of my business partners years ago. I want to say maybe like I don't know, 8 years ago, he created this financial intelligence course. And it was a cool course because he showed like if somebody were to rent their entire life and just save in the S&P,
Yep.
um, or if they were to buy and what would be better, what would get them more leverage when it came to finances. And it turned out that it was exactly the same when it came to like quality of life. It was just the difference between if somebody felt like they wanted to own something or
Yep.
if they were completely comfortable just getting a piece of paper every month with the number growing on it all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting concept and I think too just where we live that it's as a society, it's kind of like frowned upon almost if you don't own a home. But this younger generation coming up, it's almost going to be impossible for them to unless they get help from their parents or grandparents or something like that.
Yeah. And we see that a lot. We deal with business owners who tend to, have a decent amount of success. And so we are frequently getting questions, and how do we plan to help my child buy a house
Mm.
now? And what's the most tax efficient way to do that if I've built up all my wealth in the corporation? Because corporation shouldn't be buying your children a house. That's a bad tax plan. But yeah, so we do see that a lot, and yeah, it's not going to get any easier, I think, for the next generation coming up to be able to purchase a house without any help.
Hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. Like
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be interesting as we go forward too. Like what so and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what is your kind of take on with not about the actual politics when it comes to like Canada and the US, but do you see it affecting the way that people do their taxes? Or will Canada keep all the rules? Or will, like, because I know you push out like a video from time to time, just keeping people up to date. So, yeah, teach people maybe what they should look out for, or,
In which instance? Like,
well, because I remember you pushed out a video because there was no HST on stuff
oh,
for a while.
yeah,
And like, do you see more of that happening? Do you see, and we're not quoting you on anything, just
no,
with,
that's fair.
yeah, just
Um,
expertise. Could you advise people to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe this could happen, maybe that could happen, or watch out for this or watch out for that.
um, yeah, hard to predict what could happen, but I think with what is happening from a housing point of view in Canada, where we don't have enough affordable housing for the number of people that need it, um, that we're going to continue to see, and some of these things already exist, different tax incentives or tax breaks or things for people to build and construct more housing that meets certain criteria to help us meet that demand.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see other rules change, and some of those have already happened. There is now a new savings plan. People are familiar with an RRSP. It's been around for decades.
Yeah.
People are now getting comfortable with a tax-free savings account as a vehicle of saving that is got some tax benefits.
Hmm.
And just in the last couple of years, there's a new one called a first home savings account,
Oh,
which is meant for people who don't own a home, where they can start saving into that bucket to reduce their taxes. And then when they pull the money out to buy the home, they don't have to pay tax on the withdrawal. Um, and so
yeah.
it's pretty cool.
You
It
heard it
right,
here first. I did not know
uh,
about that.
it has the ability for you to save, put in up to about $40,000. Um, and then, of course, depending on how long you wait until you purchase your house, whatever that grows to, right? So that could theoretically grow to $50,000 or $60,000 if properly invested. Um, which, if you're probably not buying a house by yourself, if you're buying a house with your spouse, is probably, once you double that up, is maybe a meaningful down payment.
Mhm.
What I could see is the limits on that getting expanded to make it so that the down payment that you can build from that savings vehicle is actually something meaningful for, what the cost of a house would be at that time.
Hmm.
Um,
And how long
yeah,
has that been around? So that,
geez, I think last year might have been the first year, or maybe 1 year before that.
okay.
There are
Cool.
some rules. So, like, you could open it at the age of 18. Um, However, you can only have this account stick around for 15 years, um, which puts an 18-year-old at 31 or 32, if my math is right,
Mhm.
maybe 33. Um, and then if you don't use that money for down payment by then you have to like roll that into another RSP savings type vehicle. Um, so it doesn't always make sense for somebody to open it as soon as they turn 18 if they're not going to be ready to buy a house 15 years later.
Mhm.
Um, for most of our clients, unless we know for sure or we know that mom and dad are going to be able to help them buy a house,
Mhm.
we're kind of suggesting that maybe you don't open that account until you're into your mid 20s, because it doesn't have to be for 15 years. So, um, yeah.
That's I think that's great that at least the government is doing something to
Yeah.
help, which is good. Yeah, I did not know
Yeah.
that at all.
And I think the other thing that I see a lot, and can suggest that it should be different, because we took this different path of when my parents, who are now in their 70s, bought their first house. It was a house. The first house they bought was the one that we lived in until all of my brothers and I grew up and moved out. And it was a house with a big yard and a garage and 4 bedrooms for 3 boys and mom and dad. But I don't know that that's the way to get into the real estate market for everybody anymore, right? And a lot of people, if they grew up in a really nice house from their successful parents, want to move into kind of the same thing. But I think you kind of have to ladder that up a little bit, right? And so when we bought our first house, my wife and I, we were fortunate enough. These things will probably never come back, but at the time we were able to buy a condo with 0% down. So we didn't have to save up a down payment, and we were able to, within like 6 months of finishing university and getting our full-time jobs, able to buy our first place. May not be able to do that quickly, but as that condo appreciated and our incomes continued to grow, we were then able to go from a condo to a townhouse that my wife thought that us and our first child would live in for many years, until we reconsidered a second one. And then, as you would know, our second one arrived 2 minutes after the first one. So quickly that townhouse got to be a little bit small, and then we were able to move to another house. And even, I think people need to just adjust their expectations a little bit to get to where they want to be in the long run, rather than thinking of, well, I'm never going to be able to buy a 6-bedroom mansion on the lake, so why even bother having it?
Yeah, which is not a good mindset, because the majority of people can't buy a 6-bedroom mansion on the lakeshore or what have you.
Yeah.
So I know I've taken up so much of your time right now. So what is there something that you want to leave people with? Or I know we're leading up to tax season, but is there I know what I want to ask you. So how many brothers do you have?
I've got 2 brothers. I'm the middle brother.
And there's just the 3 of you?
Yeah.
Nice. I always find it fascinating that I interviewed somebody else and he was one of 5, all boys. Yeah, I'm like, that mom's a champ.
For sure.
So so what would you leave people with? Maybe a ending quote, or I don't know. And by the way, we're gonna have all of Tim's information in the show notes, links, everything, how to reach him, how to contact him if you want him as your accountant, your business accountant. We're gonna have all that information for everybody.
Yeah. I think that regardless of where you're at and what you want, if you pay attention to where you want to go and focus on that and take the right steps from a financial point of view or anything else, that's how you're going to get there. The wishing and hoping plan for any self-improvement or business improvement is not the most reliable. And so that would be decide what you want. I think there's some science behind writing it down to help it come true even more, and then focus on it on a regular basis, but not obsessive, and understanding that, again, like I said earlier, that setbacks in business do not make you a personal failure. Those are 2 very separate things. But if you want a better financial situation for yourself, you need to focus on that and deal with that proactively.
Absolutely. And I love all that you're saying. And there actually is lots of scientific proof that when we write something down, it actually gives us proof in our nervous system, because when we're writing down, we're actually imagining what it is that we're planning to do. And that's even something that we get clients here to do, is to actually write down what their outcome is, so that they have a very clear, well-formed outcome when it comes to what it is and how they want to change. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for that. And thank you so much for being a guest. And
my pleasure. It was tons of fun.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening to another great episode of the Root of It All podcast with Tree. So if you want to check us out on Instagram or Facebook, you can go to Business Growth Results on either of those platforms, or you can even go to businessgrowthresults.com if you have a suggested topic or theme, or you want to get a free hypnosis download. So we'll talk to you soon. Till next time, see you later.